Okay, so I think we're live now, just a couple more minutes before we start. If you are already here, just leave a message in the chat to say that you can hear me. If you can hear me, just leave a message in the chat. Okay, so I think we're live now. Can you hear me? Okay, so uh it looks like you can hear me fine. That's great. Okay, so we've got 1 minute to go. So before this starts, so I'm just going to wait for a few more people to join. I've got my phone in front of me, so if anyone's got any questions, I can see the live chat on my phone. Great. Great, great, great. So, I am just going to get into it. We've got an hour today and I don't want to waste time. So let's get into it. So, this is a live webinar where I'm going to be sharing with you how to get cheap business class flights. So, I have been able to consistently get at least 50% off business class flights. And the aim for today or within this hour is to share with you how I do this. This webinar is for you if you're tired of long economy class queues for check-in, security, and boarding, struggle with the limited baggage allowance of economy class, just are tired with the mass of people post security and want complimentary access to calm lounges with a host of facilities, including complimentary food and drink, showers, concierge, um, business centers, places to rest, and ample places to charge your phone. And if you're just tired with the discomfort of a flying economy class and don't want to have to pay an arm and a leg for business class, and if you're someone who already flies business and just want to see some other methods that you can use to fly business class and save and fly for less, this webinar is for you. So make sure to stay to the end for live Q&A. I'll be checking the chat. So throughout the webinar, if you've got any questions, just type your questions in, and I will get back to them at the end. So just quickly, who am I? My name is Esther Tremaine. I am a travel content creator, so I have been creating travel content for the last 4 years. However, my like day to day, I'm actually a data scientist. I have an economics degree, but I found out so, quite soon that the corporate world wasn't for me, and I became self-employed in 2015. That has allowed me to be able to work remotely and work from anywhere in the world. So I spend about 25 to 50% of my year traveling. This has been a slow year for me in terms of travel. I spent about 3 months abroad this year, but over those years, I've picked up like a plethora of like tips and tricks and hacks, including planning complex multi-city itineraries to be able to book premium flights, so business and first for the at the price of economy class flights. Let me make my head a little bit smaller. So this journey for me of trying to find ways of how to fly business class started about a decade ago. And this is me looking like a whole different person when I had hair. And this is when I made my first trip to Asia, and in particular, Vietnam. So, and from there, I've been to Vietnam 5 times. I have been to Hong Kong twice, Thailand twice, Malaysia, Singapore, Cambodia, Bali, Taiwan, Japan, South Korea. I have I've loved exploring Asia, but going to Asia for me is a long, proper long haul journey. Some of these flights have been like 14 hours, 15 hours. If I'm got a layover, I could be traveling for about a day. And although I see traveling, doesn't matter what cabin class you're flying in, as a privilege, when you've got to go long haul in economy class, it does make a difference to how you feel when you get there. And I remember making that journey when you board the plane, you walk through the business class cabin to get to the back of the plane, or cattle class, as one of my friends calls it. Just thinking, oh, I can't wait to the day that I'm able to buy a business class ticket. And initially I thought that I would need to have a lot of money, will have millionaire status. My finances haven't changed at all. But I thought that I would have to be super rich in order to pay these tickets. Because when we go on Google Flight, all the airline websites, we're seeing £5,000, £4,000, £10,000 plus for to fly business class. However, there are ways of like getting the cost down. I've never paid that amount for a business class and flight, and just the desperation, I wanted to try out as many methods as possible for getting the cost of the flights down. So for me, it first started with looking at airfare. So this happens once in a while, and this is where there are actual errors in the simple like data input error, and a flight that may cost £1,000, you'll see it for £500. The issue with error fares is that they go very quickly. Once the airline cottons on that people booking it, it tends to go away. So I've never been able to book an error fare for myself. And also, the airlines do not have to honor the flight because it's just due to an error. Then, what worked for me, another method that I tried was tracking prices. So, with Google Flights, I think Google Flights is an underutilized and underestimated tool. It is so powerful and people don't realize. So, what I first started doing was going into Google Flights. If there was particular places that I wanted to go, I would put those routes into Google Flights, put those put that sorry, I was just checking the questions. Put that route into Google Flights and then track it. And what Google Flights will do is notify you when the price drops. Now, you're still paying a bit of money. So I've been able to see a flight that was maybe £2,500 when I first looked for a business class return flight. And then I tracked it, and I got a notification from Google Flights when that dropped down to about 1,800. So that's still a massive saving. And it's really good because you can look for specific dates, or you could just track that route and it just gives you notifications of different dates when that route is available at a good price. There are also low cost airlines. So there's, for example, like Zip Air. Um, However, that limits, you've got limited choices with those. So there's not that many low cost airlines which have low cost business class cabins, and they tend to be quite regional. Next, the next method I tried was Fifth Freedom flights. So a Fifth Freedom flight is, for example, when an airline is departing from or landing in a country that is not its home base. So the good thing about Fifth Freedom flights is that the cost per mile of that flight tends to be when significantly less than if they're flying from one city to their home base. So, for example, I use this to fly Emirates first class from Hong Kong to, sorry, from Bangkok to Hong Kong. This flight was about 600 US dollars. This still was a full service, that's the regular price. However, I wouldn't have been able to find, there's no other route that you would be able to fly Emirates first class for that amount. And the cost per mile is significantly cheaper if you had to compare it on, for example, from London to Dubai or from New York to Dubai. And that was a great way of experiencing um, first class at a low price. So there's a number of different routes which are Fifth Freedom flights. After this, I'm going to leave a link in the description to a spreadsheet that I have, which has literally all of the Fifth Freedom flights for different airlines. So Emirates is on there, Ethiopian Airlines are on there, Singapore Airlines are on there. It is definitely a great way of not having to look out for deals. It just tends to be cheaper. Then there are deal sites. So there's deal sites if you yourself don't have the energy to be constantly looking for flights yourself. Deal sites are a good place to like sign up to and to see if just to see what is out there. The only thing with those is that it just might not be convenient to you. So the time of the flight, the location of the flight, where it's going, where it's departing from, it is very much a game of like chance, but you still do find some good options. And then another method that I've used has been route adjustments. So for me, London is probably one of the most expensive places to fly from in terms of premium cabins, so business and first. However, if I take a short flight to another European city, sometimes that can significantly drop the cost of business class. So, for example, I could get a couple hours flight to maybe like the Czech Republic and then take a flight from the Czech Republic to Asia. Now, I don't mind doing that because the I'm flying a short distance so that the majority of my travel will be in business class. Another route adjustment that can significantly um, reduce the cost of travel is to just have a layover instead of flying direct. So, for example, flying to Seoul or Japan direct usually averages around £4,000 return. If I wanted to fly, for example, with Air Korea or Asiana, that's quite a lot of money. But if I fly indirect with, for example, with Etihad, the price automatically drops literally on average to just under £2,000. So about 1,700 to £2,000. That is quite a big saving just from having a layover. And especially with long haul flights, it's actually quite nice to like get up halfway through and being able to walk around and go to the lounge. Like the lounges in the Middle East and in Asia are the best in my opinion. And then the final option for me, which has been like my favorite and tried and true method, is exploiting airline alliances. And this is what the majority of this presentation is going to be about. So, most airlines, they have frequent flyer programs that encourage repeat customers. So, within that frequent flyer program, the rewards that are given are points. Points you can look at as a form of currency. So it's almost like a monetary reward that is used to encourage repeat business. Points are referred to, points have a number of different names, including miles, air miles, reward currency, but essentially all means the same thing. And each airline has their own frequent flyer program and their own point system. Points can be used to significantly reduce the cost of flights. And these flights where you use points, these are called reward flights. Now, the key to accessing premium travel is really to understand how to acquire points, how to use them, and how to redeem them. Once you understand all of this, literally the world is your oyster. And this has been like the game changer for me. So, there are multiple ways to acquire points. This is one of the ways which most people think is the only way of acquiring points is through flying. However, this is actually the slowest way of acquiring points. And this is the slowest way of acquiring points. And actually it's just not it's just not open for most people. Usually this option of acquiring points is for business travelers and those who are traveling on a week to week basis. Literally you have to travel on a weekly basis to in order to get the in order to get significant amount of points to be able to redeem on future flights. Another method is credit card sign up bonuses. I've used this in the past, but if you're not based in the land of the free, like I'm not, you've got a limit to what you can do with this because in most places there are not that many options that you can use for credit cards. And once after you've open up your credit cards in a certain order to maximize your credit card sign up bonuses, you'll literally have to close down your credit cards in order to and wait a period of time, usually 24 months, in order to start the process again. So there is a ceiling to what you can do with this. Then there's debit cards. So there are a few debit cards that you can use with like every time you spend on it, you get reward points. However, these debit cards tend to be available to like the 1% of earners. So, for example, in the UK, the average salary here is about £35,000 a year. The current accounts which allow you to earn points, you need to have an annual salary of £75,000 a year. So this is writing out most of the population. Then you've got credit card spend as well. So I do utilize this method as well. However, I soon found out that there was a ceiling to what I could earn. So if you're a big spender, a big earner, obviously you can generate thousands of points a year. However, this this method of earning points does have a cap in terms of depending on what you are able to spend each year. And then there's shopping portals. So I like to use this alongside credit card spend. So, for example, there's the British Airways shopping portal, but they tend to be for specific airlines. So, again, you're only earning points for a specific airline or for a specific airline alliance, but it's a good way of like compounding the points that you earn with credit cards. There's also taxi hailing apps. So if you use Uber, for example, and you're based in the US, the UK, and in Europe, you should be able to add like your membership number to a reward program. So in the US, you can do like Marriott. In the UK, you can do put your British Airways account, executive account number there in your settings. And every time you use Uber and you spend £1, $1, €1, you earn one Avios. Then there's also online surveys, but I just find this tedious. It's literally if you've got nothing to do or you want an alternative to doom scrolling on social media, this is actually a good way of like earning points. But again, you may only earn like a couple hundred points per survey. And then the last method which I came across and started implementing was buying miles. And for me, this is where the game changer has been because it is the only method that can be used by anyone, anywhere. It's not dependent on credit cards or whatever credit cards that are available to you in your country. And you can use this method at any time, so you're not waiting to acquire points, whether that be through flying or through sign up bonuses, and you can do this no matter where you are in the world. So for me, there are just so many pros about buying miles. And this has been like the key for me to to be able to consistently get at least 50% off business class flights. And the truth is, so most airlines sell points. But to get the most value from buying, you need to time them. So buying your points at the right time is key because with most airlines, them selling points is actually a revenue driver for them. And I only ever buy my points directly through the airlines. I don't buy them from third parties, and I don't advise that because actually that is against airline terms and conditions. And and if you do get caught doing it and you make a booking, they can cancel your booking. However, if you've bought your points directly with the airline, you redeem your points with them, your flight is guaranteed. And the way you access all global airlines is actually you don't need to buy points from every single airline. We can actually be strategic about which airlines we buy points from utilizing airline alliances. And this allows us to access all major airlines. So, for those who don't know, airline alliances, these are partnerships that are formed between different airlines. And there are three major global alliances. So there's Star Alliance, One World, and SkyTeam. These alliances allow member airlines to share resources such as flights, routes, airport facilities, and even frequent flyer programs. So we just need to make a choice of selecting a few airlines from each alliance, which will allow us to access all the airlines across these three alliances. Now, this is why this method is so powerful because it essentially opens you up to the world and all the global major airlines. I don't even have all the airlines up on this chart, so there are like a few partners that aren't up on here. So for example, JetBlue's not up on here. So not only because there are certain airlines that may not be part of an alliance, but they are partners to one of these airlines. And this methodology allows you to be able to access those airlines too. So let me give you a real example of how this actually works. So earlier on this year, I took a business class flight with Singapore Airlines and this cost me £525. There I am, and the left in the middle, that's what I ate. I had lobster thermidor with a scallop, absolutely delicious. This was part of what I ate on board. And obviously I had access to like the lounge, all those facilities which was, I used the lounge in Changi Airport, and that's actually one of my favorite airports. And at the time of me booking this flight, when I checked it on Google Flights, it would have cost me £1,149 for this flight if I had just paid cash. So I made a saving of whopping 54%. So how did I do this? I did this by purchasing um, Aeroplan points, Air Canada Aeroplan points, and I use this to book the flight with Singapore Airlines. So this is how I exploited the airline alliance system. So if we look on the little box on the left, this just shows you the flight that I booked. I was flying from Kuala Lumpur to Seoul. I had a short layover in Singapore, and on the right, this is just the receipt. So this flight ended up costing me 36,000 points plus what I paid in fees and taxes. So I could have actually bought my miles with Singapore Airlines directly. However, it was more cost efficient for me to book this using Air Canada Aeroplan points rather than Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer miles. So let me just go through the maths of how buying these points and what I paid in fees and taxes was significantly less than the cash fare. So the points that I needed for this flight was 36,000. I bought those at a cost of 681 Canadian dollars. I paid 272 Canadian dollars in fees and taxes. And that's what gives you the total of what the reward flight costs you. So in total, that came to 953 Canadian dollars, and that is approximately 525 British pounds. So you can see that there's a big difference between what I paid when I bought the miles plus what I paid in fees and taxes. So now that you know this, I do need to throw a little warning and just a little caveat. Do not buy miles speculatively. So you might know, you might watch this and think, okay, great, let me go out and buy 200,000 miles somewhere. Points are like currency. So think of it this way. If I had £100 10 years ago, what I could buy with that £100 10 years ago is significantly more than what I could buy with £100 today. And that is due to inflation. It's kind of the same with reward currency, so points. They are constantly being revalued, and you may lose value by buying and holding on to points. So that's why I don't recommend buying points speculatively. Also, now's not the time to be like, okay, great, I've got an economy class flight. Let me buy some points to upgrade. If you don't do the maths, it might not be the most cost efficient way of getting an upgrade on that economy class flight. I suggest only buying points when you are ready to redeem them and you have completed the next step. So, inside my own program, the next step that I usually go over is called reward discovery. So I just wanted to show you a couple other examples of flights that I've taken this year. So on the left, here I am on Thai Airways flying from Tokyo to Kuala Lumpur. In terms of what I paid in for the points and what I paid in fees and taxes, this came to £413. This time I didn't use Air Canada Aeroplan points. I actually used Avianca Life Miles. And at the time of booking on Google Flights, when I checked the price was around £1,000. And then the picture on the left is me and my dearest mother. This was literally taken a couple of months ago. We went to Qatar and we were coming back to celebrate both of our birthdays. And this flight was on Qatar Airways Q Suite, which is often marketed as the world's best business class. And the ticket per person came to £475. Now, when I checked Google Flights, that price was around £2,000. So this is a massive saving. This is well over 50%. And this was actually probably one of my most enjoyable flights this year because I got to share that experience with my mum. And actually, it just wouldn't be possible if I wasn't using this method because it would literally be £4,000 for the both of us. And in this cost of living crisis, I'm not paying £4,000 for a flight when I can just pay um, just under significantly less for two people. Literally a price of an economy class flight. So, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more around this, but obviously, we've only got an hour and I just wanted to give you to there's just not enough time to cover everything in details, but you do need to, in order to implement this strategy effectively and efficiently, you do need to have an understanding of airline alliances, the valuation of points, also looking at off peak versus peak flights. That's another way of like maximizing the value that you can get. Looking at reward savers, reward tools as well. Multi-center trips are also a possibility with this. There are a number of sweet spots where you can get like maximum value, and then there's also price calculations and comparisons. So now is the time for action. 2025, we're coming to the end of 2024. I just can't believe how quickly this year flew by. And 2025 has to be the year for change when it comes to better travel. Like now is the time to say no to cattle class, as my friend would say, and yes to just stress free, comfortable, and prioritize travel. The reason why I say prioritize travel, because the truth of the matter is, when you fly business class or first, you are treated differently. And it's sad to say, but that is the truth. And everybody deserves that level of service when they fly. So, we do live in the information age. You've got two choices. So, you can do this on your own, do your own research. Like everything is, we live in the information age, so everything is out there. Or you do have an alternative. You can work with me in a small collective using my roadmap and getting help by me to help you implement the steps you need to in order to do this as quickly and efficiently as possible. So that is my budget, what I call my budget business class blueprint, because I love a little bit of alliteration. And what I've done within my budget business class blueprint, I've packaged all the steps needed in order to do this within three phases, which I call acquisition, discovery, and redemption. And this covers everything you need to consistently get at least 50% off business class flights. As you've seen from the example with Qatar Airways, it is possible to do more, but I always work from the basis of a minimum of 50%. Within the within the budget business class blueprint, you get personalized consulting, working directly with me to help you implement all the steps that you need to get flying business class for less. So I'm going to keep this brief because I want to move on to like the Q&A. Who is the budget business class blueprint for? So it's for those who love to travel, want to have better flying experiences, tired of airport queues, need more space and comfort, tired of the limited baggage allowance. Maybe you already fly business class and you want to reduce the cost of travel. So I am soon going to be launching my founding member cohort for the budget business class blueprint, and I'm looking to work closely with a small group of people who are ready to take action and want to work with me directly. Hence, there are limited spaces because I can only work with such a with because it's going to be quite hands-on support. I can only work with a small group of people. So if you want to see if you're a good fit, you can book a call with me. We can have a chat and see if it is for you. So that's it. Now, if there are like any questions, type it away in the chat. I'm gonna go through and see what questions are there. I'll leave this page up here if anybody wants to use the QR code or note down the the link to book a call. So let me go through the questions. So one of the questions say, are the tips you are sharing only you can only be used on long haul flights? So no, actually, these can also be used on short haul flights. So for example, they can be used on like regional travel. So if you're traveling in Europe, um, traveling domestically within the US, this is also a good way of using bringing down the cost. So another question was, um, I didn't know that about Uber. So the membership number from British Airways portal can help collect points elsewhere just by copying and pasting. Yes, that's correct. So if you just go into your Uber app, you go into the settings, into your account bit. There should be a bit if you scroll to the bottom where it has like partners and rewards. If you click on that, all you have to do is paste your British Airways membership, British Airways Executive Club number, membership number there. And literally every time you use Uber, you don't have to do anything else. you will get, you will earn Avios points. I've just seen another comment. This is amazing. I wish this had this. I wish I had this information, and it wasn't hidden. So a lot of people do talk about points, and when they do talk about points, it's usually geared towards credit cards, and the reason being is because people make affiliate money from credit cards. So every time you open up a credit card through someone's affiliate link, they may earn 100 US dollars, 200 US dollars. So a lot of people have businesses around that. And so with buying points and miles, for a lot of people, there's no money to be made. So people don't really talk about this as much. And even before I learned about earning points through credit cards, it took a while before I even found out about that. So I was like, oh my God, I wish I learned about this sooner. So guess the information is literally hidden in plain sight. So someone asked, do these tips work when flying within Africa? Yeah, that's actually quite a good question because regional travel within Africa, if you've ever tried it, it is very expensive, super expensive. And this, yes, it does work. So if you're so within regional travel within the continent, so you can use it on South African Airlines, Egypt Air, Morocco Air, Kenyan Airways. Um, am I forgetting someone? Uh, and then obviously travel to and from the continent of Africa using other airlines, so like British Airways, um, Turkish Airlines, and the other airlines that come directly into the continent. But I was planning on going to South Africa and also doing some travel around the African continent. So I'd already booked and looked at an itinerary using this method and literally using this the price was the same and sometimes a little bit less than an economy class flight. So, is your calendar open to calls currently? Yes, it is. So, let me actually paste in the chat. Oh, I've lost the chat. Yes, here it is. Let me paste in the chat a link to book a call with me, and we can talk about this much in greater detail. Uh, so someone said, can we use this around Europe? Yeah, definitely. So the thing with Europe, low cost airlines are king in Europe. So you know about Wizz Air, Wizz Air, Ryanair, EasyJet. It is like a race to the bottom within Europe. So you can actually, for if you wanted to fly with the bigger airlines such as Iberia, British Airways, Finnair, etc., you can use these methods on them. Um, so you can actually use it for both economy and business class flying within Europe. Um, So someone else asked, so thank you so much for this. Sorry, I have so many questions, but just a few more, please. Yes, I've upgraded at the airport before, but would you, uh, would I say if it's worth it or not? So the thing with leaving it to upgrade at the airport, I have upgraded at the airport as well. The thing with upgrading at the airport is that you're leaving it to chance. So the business cabin might be booked up at this point, or so that upgrade may not be available to you. Also, depending on where you're departing from, the price to upgrade can vary significantly. So, for example, I have been quoted anywhere to upgrade to business, anywhere between like, I think the cheapest that I've seen was around, I think it was about 400 US dollars, and the top end has been around 1,000 British pounds. So you can do, but you are leaving it to chance. And there's also like a multitude of different factors that affect your ability to the price that you have to pay to upgrade. And the thing with, so one of the things is people hope that you can ask, oh, are there any free upgrades? No, like 9 times out of 10, they're going to, or let's say 99 times out of 100, they're going to say no. Airline staff are just not allowed to do this. And like, it doesn't matter how nicely you're dressed, because the truth of the matter is most people are wearing like tracksuits and comfortable clothing in business class cabin nowadays. So so it doesn't matter how well you're dressed, and airline staff and cabin crew often get reprimanded for doing this. Okay, so another question. So someone else has said, can you upgrade at the airport just before flight? Yes, you can. So you do also have the options to like upgrade with points as well. If you are going to buy points, I would just check if you're going to upgrade with points, is to just check if it is if it is actually cheaper than buying with cash. So sometimes it's not if you're not buying with the right airline and if you're not buying at the right time. So someone asked, what are the benefits of the founding members? So I'm initially launching with a small group of people. This will be the only time really that I'm actually delivering this live. I'll be teaching live and I'll be having consulting calls live. So with this, the teaching live is like a great way for you to ask questions then and there, and we can get to the, rather than like waiting for answers. And then also I'm having fortnightly consulting calls with my founding members. So that's just a place for Q&A. And then also if you need help with implementation, so you may say, look, I'm planning on going to Jamaica in a couple of months. What is the best route? What is the best provider? And then that's what we'll work on. So I'll almost be like a travel consultant ad for you. So checking the best routes for you, helping you find the most cost efficient and not only does the most cost efficient route, but also the best route, because not all business class are the same, are made the same, and you'll get that one-on-one support with me. But if you're interested, we can talk about that in more detail in like having a chat and stuff. So you can book a call with me to talk about it. So just reading. Would you say it's worth it or not? Not sure what that question refers to. Um, and then, so thanks for the info. This is very useful. Last question. Does this only apply to my own flights or can I apply this to children flights ticket as well? Great question. So yes, you can book for your family members as well. So you saw me and my mum. I have booked a ticket for two people using this method. So if you're traveling with your child, yes, you can, as long as there's reward availability, then yes, you can use this method for you and your child or whoever it is that you want to travel with. I've seen uh, another comment. Very interested, but was only curious if my traveling days are over more or less. Oh, sad face emoji. Yes, that is sad. Uh, like travel is like my I think it's the thing that I enjoy most in this life, and it's where all my money goes. So if you look at my pictures over the last 5 years, or probably even more, I'm literally wearing the same thing. I don't spend money on clothes, I spend money on like travel. Um, and then someone's like Ethiopian. Um, what airline would you personally say has the best business slash upper class cabin? What has been my favorite? My favorite. Okay, so I like Etihad. I like Etihad for the food. I like Etihad on their A380. Like flying on the A380, they're double decker. So I've actually flown Etihad business and their first class cabin. They're, but let's just focus on like their business class. It is just such a magical experience just flying on that double decker on that double decker plane. I just love it. It is just, I don't know how to describe it, but if you're into aviation, I am, it is just like a magical experience. You've just got so much space, especially if you've got a window seat as well. And the food, what I love on like Etihad, I think they have some of the best food. Their dessert, they have like this. Remember having like this chocolate cake, and it was just the most delicious thing that I've ever tasted. Um, what other airline do I like? I like Singapore Airlines as well. Um, um, who else do I like? I mean, Qatar Airways is a favorite of everybody's, but I like Qatar Airways. But you know what? I prefer open cabins. Like a lot of people like the suites and the closing doors, but the reason why I like open cabins is you're open to having better interactions with cabin crew and other passengers. So if people are open, you can see if people don't want to talk, they'll be working, they'll be sleeping, focusing on the film. But I've had some really nice interactions with like other passengers on like the open business class cabins, as opposed to when it's closed off. It's nice because you've got all the space and you can sleep without like people looking at you. If you're like me and want to take pictures, no one can see what you're doing. Um, but then it just does minimize your interactions with other people. Let's see what other questions there are. Will you know what plane you're going to be on prior to flying? Yes. So you should know what the aircraft is. So I'm assuming You're not talking about the actual airline, you're talking about the aircraft. So whether it's the A380 or like a Boeing 777 and these sorts of things. So yes, they usually do at the time of booking tell you what the planned aircraft is. And that's also great because then you can also check like the seat map. And if if it is if it's also like your desired cabin. So for example, if I'm flying from the Middle East to London, so I do have a friend who lives in the Middle East, so I'm there quite often, and there are multiple flights leaving per day. I will pick the flight time depending on the aircraft that I actually want to fly on. So another question, is there time during the year when it's best applied? For example, can this be boosted with things like New Year's promotion deals, Christmas deals, etc.? Okay, so in terms of times of the year, what I would say is you can book a reward flight at any time of the year. If you are traveling at peak times, so Christmas, Easter, summer holidays, and these sorts of times, you're better off booking these a year in advance. If you are more flexible and can travel at any time of the year, there are ways that you can um, get better deals. So there are, for example, with British Airways and some of their partners, they do operate like peak versus non-peak flights. And sometimes it's just a matter of just leaving a day later or a day earlier, and this could bring down the cost of the points needed to book by at least 15%. You've also got other airlines that offer rewards saver seats. So there are certain airline alliances, so like Air France, KLM, they also they release like reward saver flights where the points needed are significantly less. Um, and there are other airlines that do this as well. But it also works in the other way. Um, so sometimes some airlines they do operate dynamic pricing when it comes to points. So some airlines it's just a fixed price. This is the points you're going to need for this flight. And then other airlines, they may vary the price where the flight goes significantly low and sometimes it's significantly high depending on like demand. Because like I said, the points and like reward currency is a revenue driver for airlines. So sometimes they are significantly higher than what they need to be. But I go through this the in my program, so you won't have to spend more money than you need to. So sorry for the. I'm just reading another comment. Sorry for the seemingly lack of content. My Ethiopian. Oh yes, yes, yes. I did miss out Ethiopian Air. How could I miss out Ethiopian Airlines? You're right. How on earth could I miss them out? Um. Okay. All right, someone has said, great, they've booked a meeting with me. They're looking for arranging my flights to St. Lucia in Easter 2025. Okay, great. Looking forward to speaking to you. Um, so someone's asked me in my next YouTube video, could I show a vlog applying this method for my next holiday? Yeah, okay, I will do. I am focusing on this program at this point in time, so it may be a little while, but I do actually have some content in the works where I will be going over like specific flights that I am booking or have booked that use this methodology. So subscribe to my YouTube channel if you want to see when that happens. So someone asks, how long should I wait between buying the points and booking the flight? I would say essentially you need to make sure that there's reward availability, and if your reward if your flight is available, then you just buy the points and book the flight then and there. It is literally that. Okay. So I think I've answered all the questions now. If there are any other questions on this, I'm happy to answer because we've still got a few minutes left before the hour is up. Um, if not, then just thank you so much for everybody who joined. Thank you so much for your time. I hope you found this useful. I hope you found this inspiring. So, if you are um, looking to have better travel in 2025, like use this as an opportunity to just start doing your own research or just book a call with me. So, any other questions at all? I'm happy to answer. I'm gonna wait a few more seconds. No, it doesn't look like there are any more questions. That's great. Someone said thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you. No, I appreciate you all taking the time to join, and I appreciate taking the time to like ask some questions. Um, I'm glad this is my first ever live webinar, my first time ever live streaming to YouTube. So I'm glad this went well. And thank you. I've just seen someone say they're definitely going to book a call. Um, so someone asked, just out of curiosity, how does this work for disabled travelers? That is an excellent question. So yes, this I feel so yes, this works perfectly for disabled travelers because the truth is you're going to get more support in business class travel. And the truth is not all disabilities are visible. So what a lot of people don't realize is that everybody is entitled to special assistance at the airport. And so, regardless of whether you're traveling in economy class, business class, first class, premium economy, at the time of booking, you can request for special assistance and they will help you navigate your way. Depending on the level of assistance you need, they will help you navigate your way through the airport and help you with boarding your flight. But like if you're someone who needs space or you just need a little bit more room, a bit more service, business class is the way to is the cabin to go. So not only will you get the special assistance, but you will also get just better service and more space inside like the cabin. Um, so yeah, this method is perfect for those who have needs, may have disabilities, may have other needs that just requires more space and more comfort and just more personalized service. Because the truth is, if you're on a wide body plane, you may be in an economy class cabin with 100, 200 people, and there's only a limited amount of support that cabin crew can give to you. However, if you're in business class, there's less passengers per person. Okay, so someone said thank you. You dropped gems. Thank you so much for that. Um, I've seen another thank you. Last question. Do you find there is a big difference between business and first class cabin, or do most airlines tend to combine them now? So, yes, depending on the airline, there is a massive difference between business and first class. So, for example, I said that I flew on business and first with Etihad. With Etihad, the difference is the space, is the level of space, and the amenities are more or less the same. However, they just tend to be bigger. The food I would say is more or less the same quality in business and first, but you may have like the added extras of caviar. If you're on a A380 and you're flying with Etihad or Emirates, then you have access to a shower. Singapore Airlines, if you're flying business first or first class, again, it's the space. So you essentially have um, Etihad, I would say Etihad um, and Singapore Airlines first class cabins are similar in the sense of the actual space you get within your own private, let's call it a suite. You'll get a separate seat and you get a separate bed, and it is literally just like flying in your own room. That's the only way that I can describe it. Certain airlines are now don't have business class cabins. So Qatar Airways, so not business class cabin, first class cabins. First class cabins for certain airlines are just not profitable. So over the past few years, you've seen a move away from first class cabins just because of the extra bits and bobs. It's just the revenue per customer tends to be significantly less than, or let's say the profit per customer tends to be less than business class, because obviously caviar is expensive, Dom Perignon or whatever champagne they're going to be serving is expensive. And so a lot of airlines have actually gotten rid of their first class cabins and have moved to a more Q suite approach, where you get a bit of a bigger seat in business class, and you tend to have more privacy. But there are still some airlines that are operating like first class, and I've never flown with British Airways first class. I want to do so next year. However, a lot of people say that like British Airways first class is similar to Qatar Airways business class. Okay, so that is it. With the hour is up. Unless there are any more questions, I'm happy to stay around. I know someone said last question, so I don't know if they've got any more. But I hope I have answered all your questions fully and completely. If there if there's anything else, you can connect with me on Instagram. It is ET Takes Off. Send me a DM. I love talking about all things travel. So feel free to like message me at any time. You can also subscribe to the YouTube channel, that is going to be quiet for a little while here. Um, yeah, and just feel free to connect. So if that is it, I want to thank you all for your time. And hopefully, I'll be speaking to some of you soon in to talk about joining as a founding member. All right, then. Thank you so much for your time, and I am going to end it here. All right, then. Speak to you all soon.